Only mode.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I appreciate you being on the call today. Hope you had a good weekend. And as usual, this is your time. If you've got questions, concerns, things going well, things going poorly, if you want to share them, this would be the great time to do it. Everybody would benefit from whatever comments you may have. So if you've got those, you can raise your hand, and if you have a mic, we can get you on the phone, or you can type those in, and we'll address them. Also, if anybody would like to volunteer to be, we have it looks like a lot of guys are on vacation already, so we have a pretty light call today. So, but if somebody would be willing to be a volunteer, we can get you hooked up so we can talk back and forth and let me bounce some things off you. That would be terrific. Probably not as necessary with this call as some of the others. So does anybody have any questions, concerns, things going well, things going poorly before we get started? So let me know, Tricia, if you see anything there.
Yeah,
and I'm going to go ahead and cut.
We just had a question come in from Jim Roebuck. He just said, are previous copies of the POK checklist available on the website? And we don't, Jim, we only have actually the
like
previous month and then the month ahead. Yep.
So, and then if some more questions pop up here, Tricia, I will just interrupt me as I go through what I'm about to go through, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So our pointer for this week is this, CEG Worldwide, which is one of my favorite research firms for for investor behavior. They work with advisors who work with the ultra net worth people, the $10 million plus type of people. But because of that, these advisors pay CEG Worldwide huge retainer fees. And because of that, CEG Worldwide is able to come up with a lot of great research that we wouldn't otherwise be able to get our hands on. So one of the things that they found here recently was that 93% of affluent say that they are more focused on monitoring risks than they were in the past. And that's because they've seen so much more market volatility. They're much more aware of market risk. And here's the big thing. They expect advisors to provide solutions to help them manage risks but still provide income to meet lifestyle needs. So guys, do you think that this has changed? Or do you think that they were always this concerned about monitoring risk and volatility and all those kinds of things? Do you think this has changed, or do you think they've always been this laser focused on market risk? So see, go ahead and type in some answers. I want to see what you guys think, because this actually is a watershed moment for us, or a watershed year for us, in that this has gone up by almost 100%. The amount of attention that they're now paying to risk and market volatility, and where they know now. I mean, after a decade of market volatility, their investments going up and down and up and down, and then ending up at the same place they started. They are extremely focused on avoiding risk and getting income. Because what they don't want to do, they're no longer looking at growing huge amounts of assets. What they want to make sure is they can live the kind of lifestyle that they've become accustomed to. So this, guys, if you're in the right place at the right time to really capitalize and take a lot of business away from wealth managers. Why do I say you could take a lot of business away from wealth managers? So I want to see some answers on this, and let me know, Tricia, when you see. I can't see answers here.
We've got one that says the same and one that says definitely changed.
Yep, and why do you think, let me see if I can do this. Why do we think we could take a lot of business away from wealth managers with our model? What's the only thing wealth managers talk about, guys? They solve all their clients' problems by wanting their clients to do what? Put all their money to manage money. And they think that they've got the right system. They've got, and Jeff, you've heard this over and over and over, right? And you've seen it, where they say, I've got a money management system, and it's worked fantastically well. They've never lost money in down years. How many times have you heard that, Jeff?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. And even last week, though, we looked at what have absolute return strategies done the last 5 years? Down, 5%. So
and
they say that, they may think that, but the numbers don't bear that out.
No.
One point I do want to make, guys, is because I hear this from, we talk about this, and this is only a great opportunity if you're out there marketing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sitting in the office just waiting for people to come to you and not doing anything, then this isn't any better opportunity for you at all. So
nope.
You need to be out there.
And we're going to be actually covering a great idea for you guys to use to to be out there today. So you're absolutely right, Jeff. You could be the best advisor in the world and have the best solutions in the world. If nobody knows about it, guess what? You're going to be sitting on your hands. And I've seen a lot of fantastic advisors go out of the business because they never marketed. They expected people to find them. Does not work in this business. So, guys, you're in a watershed moment, you should be capitalizing on it. The second, well, and actually ties into what you're just saying there, Jeff. Let's get back here. Is that I ask guys this question, and they almost always get it backwards. So, does selling take care of marketing, or does marketing take care of selling? Does selling take care of your marketing problems, or does marketing take care of your selling problems? And Jeff, what would you guess? I haven't shown this to you. What would you guess most advisors think, that selling takes care of marketing problems, or that marketing takes care of selling problems?
I'd say most guys would answer selling takes care of marketing.
I wish they would, but guess what most guys do? They think that marketing takes care of selling. Because every single day almost, I get an email or a phone call from a guy with what kind of question do you think it is? A selling question or a marketing question?
Oh, marketing question for sure.
A marketing question, yeah. So, or they want to share a new marketing system with me, or they want to ask about a marketing system they're looking at. And all of these guys are convinced that the marketing is going to take care of what?
The selling.
Yeah, because if they get in front of these people, exactly. If they see more people, they're going to close more people. That is completely backwards, guys. That is completely backwards. I will tell you this. If I am a fantastic salesperson, that means I can sell at least one person out of every 2 people I see. If I could sell 50% of the people I see, I'm going to make tons of money. Because here's the thing. I've looked at crappy marketing, and Jeff, if you looked at crappy marketing, does crappy marketing get you at least in front of 2 people?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, crappy
Any
marketing
kind of marketing will get you at least in front of 2 people.
2 people, right? So if you get in front of 2 people and you sell one of them, that means you've made how much money? Probably $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So I did some marketing, got in front of 2 people, and made $8,000. But guess what I hear from most people, Jeff? When they get in front of those 2 people, they don't sell either one of them, and guess what I hear?
They were bad prospects.
Yeah, it was the marketing problem, not their skill problem. So, Jeff, if I told you that I'm a Major League Baseball player, and I bat .700, what are you going to say?
Seems not realistic. Seems too high.
Seems too high or is too high?
That's too high. I've never heard of that.
And what if I insisted, well, I do. I bat .700. What would you say?
Impossible.
And what would you probably ask to see?
I'd want to see who you're getting hits against.
Yeah, so basically you'd say, well, you better show that to me. So you're going to come to a game, and I'm up to bat 4 times, and in those 4 times I get 1 hit, get on base 1 time. What are you going to say?
That's 250, not 700.
Oh, Jeff. No, it's still 700. Here's why. And you're going to say, well, what about, I said, well, I batted 700. I don't know why you're saying 250. I batted 700. You're going to say, well, what about that first time you were up the bit and you struck out? And I'd say, well, Jeff, I didn't really strike out because look at that play again. That umpire made a bad call, so that one doesn't really count. That was a bad umpire. So that one doesn't count. You say, I don't know about that, but well, how about the second one where you grounded out? Well, Jeff, let's face it. That guy was throwing 101 mile an hour fastballs. I got the bat on the ball. Who else could even get the bat on the ball? So the fact I grounded out, we shouldn't even count that because that was an impossible pitch to hit, and I still hit it. So we're throwing that one out too. So what do I do? Am I really batting 700, Jeff?
No.
So the thing is that when people get in front of 2 people and I hear them say that, and they didn't close either one of those 2 people, and I hear them say that well, neither one of those 2 people were gettable. Neither one of those 2 people were good prospects. They were plate lickers. They were tire kickers. They were blah 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 blah. Isn't that, how different is that from me saying I'm batting 700, Jeff?
That's no different at all.
No. So the fact is, our top guy that we've ever trained was in L.A. Wrote $20 million of new money. His average attendance at his events was 12 people. His average attendance at his events were 12 people. So, Jeff, how the heck can he get an average of 12 people in front of him in L.A. and write $20 million of production.
He's closing.
He's
Most
closing.
everybody he sees.
He's closing. So all these, and here's the thing, Jeff. I get call after 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 call about marketing. Guess how many calls I get about selling?
Probably none.
Yeah, I mean once every 2 weeks. Hey, Mike, this happened at a meeting. The client said this. What went wrong? And we've harped and harped and harped on this, Jeff. Everybody that comes onto 5Q is asked to send in what on a regular basis? Guess how many we get? You see them. How many do we get?
Not very many. It's the
last
same
week I had 2 tapes. 2 tapes last week, guys. I had at least 14 calls on marketing and 2 tapes. So, guys, here's the thing. You're concentrating on marketing, hoping that your marketing is going to take care of your selling. Guess what it does not do? There's no marketing in the world that takes care of your selling. If marketing took care of selling, guess who'd be out of a job? You and me. Because if marketing took care of selling, the insurance companies would get rid of their biggest expense, you and me, and go directly to the consumer. So during this summer hiatus, certainly look at marketing, but should you be spending, Jeff, more time on looking at marketing or more time on becoming a great salesperson?
Spend time becoming a great salesperson.
Guys, if I was going to spend time in the summer, I would spend 90% of my time becoming a great salesperson. And here's the thing, Jeff. Once they learn the system, once they get how it works, once they're an expert at the selling system, then how often do they, how much more work do they need to put into it?
Oh, you don't.
Because once you know, once you know how to ride a bike.
Yep,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, once you learn how to ride a bike, you know how to ride a bike. Once you know how to tie your shoes, you know how to tie your shoes. Once you know the 5Q selling system, you know the 5Q selling system. But I think we can all agree that everybody on this call, that nobody out there is an expert in the 5Q selling system, but yet, guess what everybody's questions about? Marketing. Hey, I get it. You need to get in front of marketing, but here's the analogy we give to people. And Jeff, can you do the analogy about the dating and, we just talked about a couple weeks about difference between, asking a girl. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. If you're in high school and you want to date the head cheerleader, but you ask her out, she'll probably say no. But there are some things you could do. You could be persistent and not give up. You could send her flowers. You could give her cards. You could carry her books to class. You could talk to her friends and ask them to put in a good word for you. And all those things that you're doing, sending cards, sending flowers, talking to her friends, carrying her books to class, what would you call that?
Marketing.
That's marketing.
Yep.
That's trying to get in front of her, trying to get her to agree to meet with you, go out with you. And so after a lot of marketing, after a lot of flowers and cards and her friends telling her what a great guy you are and you carrying her books to class all the time, you might ask her out and she says, you know what, sure. You know what, you seem like a nice guy. I'll go out with you. And you tell her, okay, great, I'll pick you up at 7. So you show up at her house at 8, an hour late. And already she's mad because you're an hour late. And you go to the restaurant, you get there, and you didn't call ahead and get reservations, so you have to sit and wait an hour and a half for a table. And then during dinner, you spill Coke on her new outfit. And then when the bill comes, you reach for your wallet, but you forgot it, so she has to pay. Then on the way home, you run out of gas, so she has to walk the last half mile home. So if that's how the date goes, what are your chances of ever getting another date?
Zippo.
Yeah, none. So you can be really, really good at marketing and get in front of people that you wouldn't normally otherwise get in front of, but if they have a bad experience or you're not good at the date, then it doesn't do you any good.
You know what, and using that analogy, Jeff, what would most advisors say about her when she didn't accept another date?
Well, she's she's not dateable, I guess.
She's stuck up. There's no way, guys, if you do not sell somebody, it's your own fault. And if you can sell, if you truly, and I've talked to guy after guy after guy, Jeff, who've told me they have an 80% closing ratio. Just put me in front of people and I'll sell them. And we put them in front of a ton of people, and how many people have an 80% selling closing ratio?
None.
It's like that baseball player with a 700 batting average in their head. They make all sorts of excuses why they didn't sell people. Guys, because marketing is something you can throw money at and get in front of people. It's not that hard to get in front of people. It's hard to get in front of a lot of people, but it's not that hard to get in front of some people. And if you're really confident in your selling, you wouldn't be afraid to do it. So at least spend half of your day becoming an expert salesperson. The reason I went from $50,000 a year to $356,000 a year to $667 to $987 in 3 years after making only $50,000 for 8 years had nothing to do with marketing. Had 0% to do with marketing. It was the reason I had a 7-fold increase and another double and a 50% increase or a 19-time increase over 3 years in my income had nothing to do with marketing. It was all in my selling skills. And all the guys that I've helped make $1 million a year, Jeff, you've seen these guys. How much did it have to do with them going from making $150,000, $200,000 a year to $1 million a year? How much did it have to do with marketing?
None. I mean, they didn't do any different marketing than anybody else.
Nope. So guys, let's see some tapes. If you don't have tapes, let's do some role plays. Let's concentrate on the marketing because your second biggest marketing is coming up here in September and October. Because you guys need to be running 2 events in September, October. Do you want to make 20 grand from those events, or do you want to make 55 grand from those events? Because the difference between making 20 grand and making 55 grand is one thing and one thing only: your ability to sell. And we've had, I don't know how many, what have we had, like 70, 80 events in the last couple of months, guys. We've had 70, 80 events in the last couple of months, which means those people got in front of at least, what's 73? At least, what's 50 times
3,500.
3,500 people. 3,500 people. So guys, and how many tapes have I received, guys? So they've gotten in front of 3,500 people, and I've received probably 50 tapes. So everybody comes on for the marketing, and the marketing is getting in front of people. We've proven that over and over and over. We're going to get in front of a ton of people, but you need to sell those people, and that's selling skills. And the only way you get that is working closely with Jeff and myself, okay? So I just want to make that point. You've got summer is not your busiest time. So if it's not your busiest time, guess what you should be sharpening? Your axe. So you should be perfect when it comes. You shouldn't be practicing your selling skills in the height of the September and October. You should be practicing your skills before you get to September, October. When do they have spring training? Do they have spring training in July, Jeff, or do they have it before the baseball season begins?
Yeah, before the baseball season begins.
This is spring training, guys. You need to be sharpening your selling skills, and you need to be setting up appointments. Every Friday, Jeff and I set aside time to do tape reviews. If you do not have a tape, Jeff, are you okay with just having somebody call you for role playing?
Sure, absolutely.
And I am great. I love doing that. So if you don't have a tape, but you want to sharpen your selling skills, then just set up an appointment with Tricia for Friday with Jeff or myself, and we'll just do role playing with you then. But this is the time you need to be becoming an expert on selling, okay? So we'll get on with the marketing portion here. So the Holy Grail, what's the Holy Grail of marketing? Well, referrals are the Holy Grail of marketing. But after that, the Holy Grail of marketing is getting in front of large groups of people for free with an implied endorsement. Getting in front of large groups of people for free with an implied endorsement. Well, we have one system that's close to that, which is the property casualty system, but I'm going to share with you one that is as absolutely free with an implied endorsement. And that's to get in front of the spiritually affluent investor. And this is a huge underserved marketplace. But you have to understand them and the best way to serve them. So there's lots of religions in the United States today, and I can't cover how to do this with all the religions, so we're going to concentrate today on how to do it with the Christian spiritually affluent investor. So who are they? Well, they differ from the average American. The way they think, the way they invest, the way they think of family, the way they interact with others, and they tend to be, I mean, here's the great thing, they tend to be business owners, and they tend to have large amounts of cash sitting around for business opportunities. And you have to understand, the spiritually affluent are not just a wealthy member of the church. They're not just a wealthy member of the church. They are people who place a great deal of emphasis in their private life on their relationship with their Creator. They credit their success in that life to that relationship. They also generally have fully funded retirement accounts. They have middle-of-the-road risk tolerance, and they have income. They believe income is as important as long-term appreciation. So how do we get in front of the spiritually affluent investor? And guys, this works. To get in front of the spiritually affluent investor, you can actually be Muslim, you could be Jewish, you could be agnostic, you can even be an atheist and still get in front of an spiritually affluent investor, and I'll explain how. It has nothing to do with your religious affiliation. It has to do with you understanding them and their religious affiliation. So any questions so far? Guys, I want you to ask questions and feel free to point things out and add your 2 bits as I go through this. The only way you're going to get in front of the spiritually affluent, and here's the thing, Jeff, how often have you heard people say, hey, can I take this event to a church?
Yeah, we get asked that a fair amount.
Yeah, so I'm constantly being asked, can I take this event to a church, etc. You can if you do it the right way. It's just that most people don't do it the right way, and they also do it with the wrong type of church, and I'll explain that here in a second. So first of all, do you think you can go in and if they smell a rat, you're out of there? I mean, they do not want money changers in their place of worship, do they? So you have to do this the right way. You have to come to them with solutions for them and their congregation. So what kind of solutions could we possibly be showing them? Well, one is how to deal with debt problems. You could show them how to deal with debt problems. You could talk about filing for Social Security to get them the most benefits. So guys, we actually have a new system that will show you how to do this, which would tie in very, very nicely with this. Charitable giving and its benefits to giver and receiver. You think the church would be interested in you talking about those things? Absolutely. Helping aging parents. I mean, all of us have aging parents that we're dealing with, and many of us now are helping needy children as well. So we're trapped in the middle. We're that middle generation. We're helping both parents and children. So there's lots of different solutions you can come to a church with. But first, what kind of church should you go to? We need to go to a church that's open to new ideas. And I will tell you that having been the president of a church with only 350 people, which is a pretty small church, I found, do you think, guys, let me see some answers to this. Do you think smaller churches are more open or less open to new ideas than large churches? So let's see some answers to that. And I can't, for some reason, Tricia, see the answers here. So can you tell me as they come in?
Sure.
Do you think small churches are more open or less open to new ideas? Less. Okay, you guys hit it right on the
someone
head.
says more.
Well, generally what you're going to find is small churches are less open to new ideas. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Because generally, large populations are going to have a larger cross-section of people. And with a larger cross-section of people, there's going to be a lot more ideas there anyways. So if there's a lot more ideas there anyways, guess what happens? They're just going to be more open to those new ideas. So what I'm going to show you today, we'll work with smaller churches, but it works far better with the bigger the church, the better it works. And we've actually seen this, especially in metropolitan areas, the growth of these types of churches, the mega churches. So it doesn't just have to be with a mega church, but I tell you, it will work best with mega churches, and you'll see why as we go through this. And but that doesn't mean you can't use the principles we're talking about to get into a mega church as an expert. That won't work for medium-sized churches and smaller churches as well. But you'll find far more success with a mega church with 2,000 members or more. And it's because, if you think about it, those churches really are a community unto themselves, aren't they? They have lots of different levels of support for lots of different types of needs. They have all sorts of different help for all sorts of different needs. They've got different counselors and departments to help with advice for all sorts of different needs. I mean, they're a community unto themselves, and because of that, they take care of their members in almost like a one-stop shop manner. They don't look at their church as just being a place of worship. They look at their church as being what? So let's see some answers to that. They don't just look at their church of worship as being a place to worship. They look at their church as what? I mean, they look at it as a small community. They
Mike?
have, I mean, yes, go ahead, Tricia.
We do have a question that says, should you be a member of the church?
Here's the great thing, is that you can be a member, but it's just as easy if you're not a member, and sometimes easier. And we're going to explain how you would do that as you come through. So I think being a member neither helps you nor hurts you with this process that we're going to go through. And it's kind of like this, if you think about it, and it comes right from a biblical principle. And you might have to help me with this, Jeff, with my biblical principles, but if this even is a biblical principle, it might be a Confucius principle, but we look at experts as being what? From our own community or from, what was it? Do you know what I'm trying to
Yep, that no one,
what is it?
No one sees the prophet from their own hometown. They just see the guy
the further
that
you come, yeah, that's exactly. They don't see the prophet from their hometown. It's the guy they grew up with. So that being a member of the church does not necessarily help you or hurt you in this particular case. It might even help you a little bit if you're not a member. So good question. So these places are communities. If you look at them, they have their own softball league, don't they? They've got knitting societies. They have reading societies. They have education societies inside of them. They're actually a community in themselves, and they actually reach out to the big community as well, inviting them in to be part of the community. They have, generally they'll have, not amphitheaters, but they'll have, what do you want to call them, large rooms for presentations where they'll have guests come in to speak on all sorts of things, not just religious things, but they'll have environmental speakers, they'll have philosophical speakers, they'll have authors from books come in, and they invite the general public to come, and they'll have music come in and to be part. So they're a community unto themselves, and you want to tap into them as a community and rather than as a church. So why a megachurch? Well, they have different structure and goals. First of all, these megachurches, because they're so large, don't just have one pastor. Our church with 350 people had just one pastor, and that's how most small churches are, even medium-sized churches. And you want one with several pastors. They'll have a head pastor, youth pastor, education pastor, a couple pastors, senior pastor. I mean, they're a small community, and they want to serve all members of that community. And they can do it because they're so large, and many of them are so well funded. They're able to to serve that small community. So the question is then, how do you create a relationship? Was what we had the previous question. Do you need to become a member of that church? Well, like I said, there's reasons that would make sense, and there's reasons that may hurt you. So I don't think that really is necessary. But you do want to become an expert within the Christian community, not just for that church, but in the community as a whole. So does that mean that you can't be Muslim or Jewish to become an expert in the Christian community, Jeff? Does that mean you have to be a Christian to become an expert in the Christian community?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
It has nothing to do with your religion. It has to do with your expertise and understanding of what they're after. Now, how can you do that? Well, you can get an article published in a Christian publication. Oh, and I'll do a little plug here. Actually, guys, if you need an article on Social Security to publish in your newspaper or publish in a Christian publication, etc., I've written one that you would be able to use. So if you can show me the publication that you're looking at publishing that in, and it's a valid publication, then I will give you that article that you could publish in that periodical. Do a series of interviews on Christian radio, and I'm going to talk to you about, I am not a big fan of radio, but I am a big fan of Christian radio, and I'll explain why here in a few minutes. Approach someone you know within that church to see if they can't get you connected to one of the pastors, or most of the churches have what they call a meeting planner, or maybe that's not the title, but that's what they do. They plan and are in charge of any new meetings in that church. And then set up a meeting with that meeting planner. When you get it, and again, this is if you can get a meet with the meeting planner, you want to make sure that you have a proposal. This is a business meeting. Have a proposal with exactly what you wish to accomplish. If you're going to be doing a presentation, have copies of the slides there for them to see. Be prepared to answer questions as to your expertise in education. That's where if you've already written articles for Christian magazines or newspapers, that's going to help. Or if you're on the radio, that's also going to help to give you credibility in your expertise in your education. Explain why the problem and your solutions are important to the general population and to their population. And make sure this meeting goes well, because these are the people that are going to become your ambassador. They're the ones that are going to get you the okay to do a meeting. They're the ones that are going to introduce you to the right group to do the meeting for. They're the ones that are going to be promoting you to everybody. So you really want to nail this and come in prepared. Don't just come in to chat and shoot the breeze. This is a business meeting. And with everything, big journeys begin with small steps. And what I mean by that is, in a megachurch, you're not going to present to 2,000 people. If they've got 2,000 people or 10,000 people, you're going to present to 10,000 or 2,000 people. If they're a smaller church with 500 people, you're not going to present to 500 people. You're going to start with one of the small groups that they have. So you want to get in to teach a class on one of the, or do a presentation for one of the small groups they have. And again, the megachurches have, they have directories on all the groups that they have inside there. So you're going to get your foot in the door just talking to one of those groups. And then if that goes well, then you start to get access to larger and larger groups. So one of the best ways, if you're a little bit skittish about approaching a megachurch or any type of church about speaking to them, one of the best ways to do it is first go on radio. Now, I'm going to talk about regular radio versus Christian radio. I consider myself as much an expert on radio as anybody in this industry, because I actually sold radio advertising for a year prior to coming into this industry. And I would tell you that I was a fantastic radio salesperson. I sold a ton of radio advertising. So why did I leave then after a year if I was such a great radio? Because you can make tons of money in radio advertising when you're good. But I left, and here's why. Because after a year, I was running out of people to talk to. So what do you think? If I was so great at selling radio time, why do you think I was running out of people to talk to, guys? So let me see if you can get the answer to this. This is a trick question. We'll see how sharp you are today. If I was so great at selling radio advertising, after a year, why was I running out of people to sell radio advertising to? So Tricia, tell me if we get any answers to this.
We don't. We have a tired group this morning.
Come on, guys.
Oh, small
Why?
community.
Small community. I was actually in a community that was about 1 million people. So I was selling when I was up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So there's 1 million some people. Here's why. If I sell radio advertising and it doesn't work for that company, how long before they're going to want to do advertising with me again? So the problem was radio advertising does not work for most entities. It does work for bars. It does work for a large corporation with sales and things like that. But if you think about it, anything that requires you to write down a name or a number or a time or a place, it doesn't work. Because think about this, guys. When do most people listen to radio? When they're at their, having coffee in the morning at the breakfast table, or when they're driving home to or from work, right? Or out in the backyard doing lawn work. In any of those places, do you have a pen and paper readily available to you? No. So if you try to get somebody to call you or do something or show up something, they don't have it. And how many people do you think are going to get up from the table or pull over their car or lay down their rake or shovel and then run in and try to find a piece of paper and pen? They're not going to. That's why radio advertising does not work. Now, and I will tell you that I just ran into a guy who spent he went with one of these other FMOs who told him how great radio was, spent $65,000 on radio advertising over a year. Guess what he made? Nothing. I mean, I'm talking nothing. I think he got like one client the whole year from it. And the reason being is now there are some people who do really well with radio shows, but it's radio shows that have been done for an hour a week at a regular time, usually Saturday mornings, and that's a real tough time to get. And the first year you have to basically say, I know I will make no money the first year. I know I will make little money the second year. I know it's going to take me at least 5 years to start making good money from radio, because that's what it takes to start making good money from radio in the financial industry. So why then would I be recommending Christian radio versus regular radio? Well, you're going to see here there's a huge difference between the two, and you probably know this already. Well, I'll go right back here. The reason I'd want to do Christian radio versus a regular radio is Christian radio has really loyal listeners. Compared to any other radio out there, it has really loyal listeners. And they listen how often? Just at breakfast? Just while driving to and from work? No, they listen all the time. And they're totally focused on the message throughout the day. Most people use radio as what? Background noise. But Christian radio listeners they're focused on the message all day long. And it's extremely inexpensive to advertise on Christian radio. So what you want to try to do with Christian radio is get interviewed or run an ad. And both strategies have advantages. So what you want to do is approach the program manager and explain what you do and the resources you have to give. So what I mean by that is what kind of subjects could you cover? How would you cover them in a short period of time? What other kind of value could you add? Because here's the thing. They are constantly seeking valid and useful information for their listeners. They're constantly looking to fill airtime with things that are valid for their listeners. But guess what kind of budgets Christian radios have? Guys, what do you think? Do you have Christian radios have huge budgets or very, very skinny budgets? They're very skinny budgets. So anybody who's willing to bring content to them that's good quality content that's going to be helpful to their listeners for free, they're going to be all over it. And guess how many people actually approach them for this kind of things? Very, very few. And here's the thing: when you do get on Christian radio, you get a 2-for-1 because you get in front of their very loyal radio listenership. But guess what? It also starts to create credibility before you approach these pastors. And this works for mega churches, it works for medium-sized churches, and it even works for small churches because when you talk to them, you say, you may have heard my interviews, you may have heard my show, you may have heard my whatever on the local Christian station. It adds credibility before you even approach the pastors. So for radio ads, again, you're going to get these at a fraction of the cost of what it costs on regular radio. It's a fraction of the cost of the regular radio. And you're going to be treated like a king because they're not approached every single day with people that want to do advertising on their station. So you could consider running an ad. And in that ad, you could approach it in one or two different ways. One is you could make yourself available to churches for meetings and seminars on your specialty. So you could be actually advertising that you're a speaker that's available to speak to churches. Or number two is you could tie your specialty to a Christian principle. So if your specialty is on Social Security, you could tie Social Security to a Christian principle. If your specialty is income, you can tie that to a Christian principle and run those ads on the radio. And again, it's adding credibility. It's going to make it easier to get into one of these churches. So now let's say you now have the meeting with the meeting planner. To ensure your success, you want to provide printed and digital material to publicize your class to the church. So you want to have something they could put in their newsletter. You want to have something they could post on their website. You want to have something that they can put on their bulletin board, all of those things, so they don't have to do that. Make it very easy for them to publicize your class. Then what you want to do is you want to inquire about rules and etiquette they may have. So do they say a prayer before or after? Do they have a certain way they begin, a certain way they end? So find out what the proper etiquette is for that particular church and the meetings they have. And then when you get to the meeting, you want to get there early and get there prepared because you only have one chance. This is your way to really this is your foothold in the door, and you want to make sure that you do fantastic here so it continues to get you into a wider and wider, broader group of people within that church. And then you want to be flexible and be cordial, which goes without saying. And then during the class, you want to introduce yourself and your goals, what you plan on doing at that class, and make sure you do not sell. Guys, this is a situation like with a town hall and with some other things where it's purely informational. You're giving yourself up for your expertise, and there's no implied obligation for them to make appointments with you. You want them to chase you, and in this particular group, they will chase you. If possible, tie biblical principles to the subject you're teaching, and how you can do that is read the scripture you're referring to the class. So if you're talking about, again, lending, if you're or borrowing, if you're talking about Social Security, if you're talking about income, there are principles you can use to, and you want to actually read that particular principle out of the Bible to the people as you're making your case. This demonstrates that you've done your homework, and it helps them understand what the Bible says about your point. Now, like, oops, oh shoot. Oh, there it is down at the very bottom. So I can't see. And Tricia, we're going to want that. Oh, that's what happened. I wanted that actually resource bigger for them. So we'll need to make sure we get that posted somewhere, Tricia, in our resources. So guys, I don't know if you can see very down here at the very bottom it says resource. Christian PF, and that actually stands for ChristianPersonalFinance.com/money-in-the-Bible. In there, they've actually done a great job of helping you find scripture that will pertain to whatever lesson you're trying to teach about money. So that's a great resource for you to use in your classes. And then other must-dos, make sure you use stories to drive your point home. People like to learn about stories, in particular in churches. That's how they teach lessons, as you well know, is with stories. So use stories to drive your point home. Make it fun and interactive. And make sure you have a question and answer. Remember, this is you're not going to do the Yale close at the end of this. You're going to actually have a question and answer session to boost your credibility. And then, if allowed, bring refreshments to encourage mingling after the formal presentation. This is where you're going to bond with them and where they're going to start to ask you a little bit about your practice and if you're available and all of those sorts of things. So you want them to ask you for appointments. You don't want to be asking them for appointments. And guys, this costs you nothing to do this, so you certainly don't want to be pushy and salesy because you'll never get back in. So that's a way to get in churches is you want to, first of all, look, which is actually counterintuitive. I don't know if it's for you, Jeff, but it would have been counterintuitive for me to go to large churches. I thought it would be easier to go to small churches. But in the end, with this information I actually gleaned from a mortgage broker and a real estate broker, and they've done a fantastic job helping real estate and mortgage brokers get into churches across the country. So all I'm doing is taking some of that information and making it available to you as a financial advisor, because we're not that much different than a realtor or a mortgage broker, so what will work for them would also work for us. So this is a way for you to spend very little money, possibly no money, to get a niche into front of a large group of people with an implied endorsement. Because if you're allowed to do meetings in these churches, especially these mega churches, they believe that you've been vetted, which you have been and will be, and that they can trust you. And there's no better place to work with. And once you're in the network is unbelievable in these churches. You can actually become the quote-unquote expert for that church. So it's a fantastic marketplace to start to get your foot in the door. And a great way to start that was just getting a few ads, and more importantly, see if you can't get interviewed or a program on the Christian radio stations. So, any questions on that, guys? Any questions, comments? Jeff, any questions, comments from you? Well, we're seeing if they have any questions or comments.
No, it's a good idea. I mean, like Mike said, we do get asked a lot, is there a way for me to take this to churches, because they are well connected, and it is free. I mean, once you're in, and it's a great audience. I'll just say, I hadn't thought about it before, but my wife belongs to a MOPS group at a mega church here in town. It's not our home church, but that's where the MOPS group is, and it is kind of interesting she's been going there for 3 years, and so she knows a lot of the same women that are in the group, and I've asked her about some of the women, and she says, one of them, her husband owns the 2 Paneras here in town. One of them owns orthodontist dental supply. It's just amazing. I'd say 3/4 of them are business owners.
With money.
Right.
And they're nice, decent people to work with. They're fantastic clients. It's a great marketplace to get into if you believe in what they believe in. And again, it has nothing to do with whether you're Christian or not. I think that Muslims, the Jewish faith, and Christians all believe the same thing, which is to treat people decently, be good to people, help people out. That's what they're all about. And that's what really, if you think about it, isn't that exactly what we're all about? It's just giving them that message with some additional language so they can understand that what we're talking about is not really that much different from what they believe in and every single Sunday.
And Mike, we did have a comment.
Do we have any questions, Tricia? Yeah, comment?
We had a comment. It says, Christian radio has an implied endorsement.
Sure it does. Absolutely. That's a great comment. Christian radio does have an implied endorsement. Absolutely. That's a great point.
And we've got no other questions or comments.
Excellent. Well, then I will cut you loose. Guys, next week is kind of a short week with the 4th of July. Most guys shut down their offices during that week, so we will have no Monday call next week, but we'll resume the following week with a call with Jason Labarge, who's going to go through some of the new product that's out there and some new ideas on techniques and solutions using the new products that are available. So I hope that you have a wonderful holiday, 4th of July. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. And again, please, guys, take my earlier comments about concentrating on becoming expert salespeople to heart. That's how you're going to make all the money, not with marketing. Marketing, you can get in front of people very, very easily, and the fact is that a lot of people say marketing is a problem. No. The problem is they think the marketing they're doing isn't successful because when they get in front of people, they don't sell them. And instead of saying, it's my fault I didn't sell them, instead they say it's the marketing's fault because they didn't put me in front of people who are pre-sold. Guys, become expert salesperson. That's what's going to make you tons of money. Okay? So I thank you very much for being on the call today. And again, have a wonderful holiday weekend or holiday week coming up here in the next couple weeks, and we'll talk to you in not next Monday, but the following Monday. Thanks, everybody.